enlisted at my wedding, which hasn't happened yet. We're waiting for that, or eulogized at my own funeral. Sure, thank you, Brad. It's a tremendous honor to stand here tonight and welcome you to this place that has meant so much to me over the years, and to all of us sitting up here, and the thousands who have gone before you. Now, I know that some of you have been here already for a week, and have some sense of what's going on with all of this. And the rest of you don't have a clue yet. Those of you who don't have a clue yet should sort of take a look around the room a little bit and look for those people that look a little weary, a little battered, a little bit stretched, a little bit exhausted, but who have a strange kind of glow about them. Maybe they've got a secret. Those are the people that have been here for a week. But don't worry, your time's going to come real soon. The other consistent feature of this speech is that some clown stands up here and tells you what it's like to lose a cherub. Tonight I'm that clown. And I know you probably don't care, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Because I gave it some thought, a lot of thought, as I was thinking about this speech, and I thought really about the world that I was living in the 60s, late 60s, and up to 1970. And the world that I left behind to come here was a very, very different kind of place. And yet there are patterns that remain the same, and discoveries that are consistent, and have been consistent for me over the years. Truths about this place and this experience that remain almost eternal. When I arrived on this campus in 1970, this nation, the United States of America, was in the midst of an extraordinary national nightmare. The years that preceded it were filled with a kind of gradual awakening, both in the culture and in me, of pain and injustice and frustration and violence. It was not a very pretty or a very funny time. America was undergoing a kind of trial by hellfire. We were caught in the struggles between black and white, young and old, those in power and those disenfranchised. We believed ourselves to be a fair, just, and righteous nation, and we're having to confront the reality that in many ways we were not. We were caught in a conflict between what we were and what we wanted to be. Violence and mistrust, suspicion, rage, pain seemed to be the stuff of our everyday lives. Our social structure, our politics, our system of justice, our treatment of blacks, women, the poor, the environment, nothing seemed to work. The very fabric of our world seemed to be tearing itself apart. Someone said, John Chancellor said in retrospect, that decade, America came as close to civil war as any time we had in the last 100 years. And I think in many ways there was a lot of truth in that. Many of us believed that the only way to effect the change that seemed to be so desperately needed was to throw everything out and start all over again. A fundamental change in the way we lived our lives. The word revolution was everywhere. In our music, in our literature, on the streets, in our hearts, for some of us. And in the midst of all of that turmoil, I chose out of my own free will to come to a rather sleepy, definitely conservative college campus in the Midwest for 5 weeks in the summer. And I didn't even, by the way, come to do anything sensible like journalism or engineering, that had some career potential. I came to do the theater. Try and justify that. But in spite of that, while I was here, I made a really amazing discovery. Something that was much more profound than even what was going on out in the world. I found that the real revolution was going on in me. A fundamental change was happening while I was here, inside of me. The very fabric of my world was being stretched and tested relentlessly. And I began to throw out much of the old and to prepare myself for a new way of life. I came here thinking I was a pretty smart fellow, and I knew a few things. And I very quickly realized that I didn't know much of anything, but that I had in me the capacity to know and be far more than I had ever imagined possible. I was tested and prodded and badgered and challenged like never before, and through that I learned that I could change. And in order to change, I learned that I was going to have to sacrifice some things. I was going to have to give up relying on the easy solutions to things, the pat answers, the comfortable, the familiar. I was going to have to risk something of myself to begin this journey that those who were teaching me demanded that I take. And I learned what the human mind, my mind, could really do. Grasp, accomplish, that I could embrace something much larger than myself, an idea, an entire being. That I could only find that place where that would happen if I stopped worrying about fact and formula and started worrying about idea and principle. If I valued process over product, and if I stopped worrying about the answers, concentrated for a while on the questions. I learned about passion, the passion that I needed to have in beginning that search, and how when my passion was shared with other people, with similar passions, no matter where they came from, we could discover, we could make magic, and we could change in some small little way our world. I saw it happen. I saw it happen every day. And I learned about nurturing that passion and carrying it with me wherever I went. And I learned about the risk that required, the need to be vulnerable, the need to be able to hurt. And this is going to sound strange, but in a very profound way, a very real way, I think I learned something that I'm still learning about, even up to this moment. I think I began to learn about love a little bit. Not flowery, sweet, romantic, all that stuff in the songs, but the love that is about questions. The love that teaches us about ourselves and each other. The love that sort of lays us bare and makes us doubt and question and be afraid every now and then of the unknown. When we confront ourselves, in the presence of something or someone else. There's a critic who wrote something about love that's been very important to me for a long time. He said that love is really about that process of answering, of asking questions constantly. He calls love an incessant interrogation of being. Not in the hope of an answer, but for the sake of the question. The warm embrace of argument. I've never heard a better definition of love, and I've really never heard a better definition of this place either. I first began that process here, and it's changed my life forever. I have returned here for almost 20 years to be a part of it, to find for myself once again the seeds of that search, and to share it with those around me. And as I look back over those years, I think it's safe to say that the revolution we were all talking about didn't happen. It may very well happen in your lifetime, folks. As the unsolved problems from that time reemerge, as the gap between rich and poor, luxury and suffering, ideal and reality widen. And I believe that those who survive that revolution will be those who can think passionately and relentlessly, who can embrace idea and principle and change, and who are willing to leave behind the old and risk something of themselves to find the new. The people who survive it will be the people that know how to love. I don't really know what's going to happen to you in the next 5 weeks. That'd be a little presumptuous. But it is my fervent hope that this moment right now, this sort of christening you're going through, will be a beginning. And that your future will be as bright and filled with its benefits as my past has been since I sat where you're sitting now. On behalf of my colleagues, all of us who are anxious to begin this search with you and share this with you, welcome to this moment. And now let the revolution begin.